moment to shine on Happy Camper Life. We're loving, living, and learning online on Happy Camper Life.
Hey guys, I'm Courtney. Welcome to the My Camp podcast here at Happy Camper Live. You are joining me today live here in the Girls HC, the place where all this stuff happens. And I'm really excited to introduce Cisco Mercado, the director of Campfire Alaska. And welcome so much, Cisco. Welcome to my camp. Thank you for being here. Tell me exactly what is your role at camp? Is it Campfire Alaska or Campfire Alaska? Like what's the correct pronunciation of the camp?
So it's Campfire Alaska. So Campfire is two words. So we always try to do Campfire. It's hard. Like when I first moved here and started to do, I would put one word down. I was like, no, it's two words. So it's Campfire Alaska. I am a program coordinator here with Campfire Alaska. So I do many different things. I help oversee our after school program. And the summertime, I'm with us, what we call summer venture camp. And but I've done many different things from camp at CME to our overnight Camp K. Also have help with our rural program. So I've done many different things here at Campfire Alaska.
Where are you from? Are you a native of Alaska?
No, I was born and raised in New York City, but I've lived in many different places, and I've been in Alaska for 11 years now.
So this is a different world than being in New York, right?
It is a very different world. If you've never experienced Alaska before, it's a world unto its own, and it takes a lot. But once you get here, it's one of the greatest places to live.
Did you move to Alaska for this to be with Campfire Alaska?
No, I moved here. My sister-in-law, my brother-in-law's in the Army, and so they got stationed up here, and I came for a visit. And next thing you know, I'm still here 11 years.
Did you go to camp as a kid in New York?
No, we did not go to camp as a kid. So a lot of where I fell in love with camp is working with Campfire Alaska. It's something that we did not view, and that's something we're working on. Camp as I grew up, poor, and I'm a person of color. That was nothing that we never considered, and it was until getting to camp, learning about camp and falling in love with camp. It's something that we're trying to touch base on with our youth of color, and just people making sure they understand that camp is not a rich person's activity.
Right. Well, the interesting thing that I learned about, or many interesting things about Campfire Alaska, it was started in 1913. It was the first youth organization in the state at that time. And I could imagine that at that time, and even now, especially in 1913, that any sort of, being so rural, being so far away, that there was probably a huge need for youth programs at all at that time. I can imagine that the needs of kids in Alaska is a lot different than needs of kids, in New York or where I am in Florida. So tell me a little bit about your camp, because you're so unique in what you guys focus on and all about inclusivity. So give me a little bit of background about Campfire Alaska.
So Campfire Alaska, again, was founded in 1913. We were all-girl camp, and it was Campfire Girls, it was originally called. And then in the 1980s is when we desegregated and included boys into it. We do a lot of different things in the state of Alaska, and the needs is what we meet the needs of our youth. So during the school year, we run a before-after school program because there's a great amount of needs with our parents who, they have jobs, they need care before and after school. And then in the summertime, we run 4 different summer camps, and those summer camps are tailored to meet each youth need. So you as a parent can pick what camp fits your youth. So we have our summer venture camp, which is we're in the school building all day, but we operate as a camp. So we try to get the kids outside. We go on field trips. and we do a lot of different things. And then we have our Camp Silmia, which is on the campus of APU, and they're outdoors all the time. It's basically a camp. The only difference is they get to go home at the end of the day. And then we have our Camp K program, which is our overnight camp on Lake Kenai, and kids get to go experience camp. And then we have a rural program. And rural program is really one of those things that came out of a need for youth. So this is where we take our campfire program and go to the native villages and to bring campfire. And the reason why I started was the villagers reached out to us because they had a crisis of youth drowning and they didn't know how to swim. So we brought campfire and taught youth how to swim, and that's how the rural program evolved. And it's a mainstay where we go and meet what the villagers need and help, teach the young kids those specific skills and that they need to survive in those native villages.
Now, these rural, when you're going out into, rural Alaska, who are these families? Are they more of like local families? I mean, would you use the word, you're saying villages? Are they, Native American or indigenous? Like, how would you characterize your, like the rural, I'm just curious,
Right.
Your rural population?
No, that's great. It's a great question. It's a native population. So we say native, those are native indigenous people to Alaska.
Right.
They're not called Native Americans, but they're called natives. And
Okay.
so those are the population they live with. And we say villages, but it's really communities, and they are spread throughout Alaska in many different parts of it. And a lot of these areas are really hard to gain access during the year. Like we have to take a special plane out to the villages. So we send up staff there to really bring the campfire program to them, and we spend like a week or so in the village, and then they go to a different village, and so we have like a number of different teams in the summertime going to these villages and really engaging the youth and trying, because most of these youth have never really stepped outside the villages, and like we try to bring what we believe is our culture into the village and to bring the skills that I think they necessarily need to survive in that type of climate.
Wow. Yeah, because it's it's winter. I mean, it's during the school year, September to June. I live in South Florida. It's hot all the time. So I just can't, you just can't get to those, you just can't get there because of snow and weather and ice and all of that. Wow. Right. So that in itself, the needs of those children are so different than what you would have in more of a, a suburban metropolis area. Wow. So I really love the mission of Campfire Alaska. I have it here, so we'll make you memorize it. But it's and you have this theme throughout the entire and through your whole website and all of your literature, and the way you talk about it. It's something that I feel like you're very proud of. But it's every child will have the opportunity to discover the best in themselves and others in a fun, safe learning environment. And I feel like that's still very, very kind of basic. But when you really get into the nitty gritty, you are accepting. You've race, religion, you add sexual gender, you've added all of this into your mission statement over the last however many years, so that you are including everybody, which is so important these days. Like I said, it was the first youth organization in the state, the first multiracial, non-sectarian organization for girls in 1975. Yeah, so tell me about, so you have 3 programs. You have you really focus on your before and after care, and then your 2 summer programs. So can you talk to me a little bit more about your 2 summer programs?
So our 2 summer programs is basically what we try to do is really bring camp to the youth. So the first one is Camp Silmia, which they operate as a camp. They're outside, rain, cold, whatever, they're outside the whole day, and they're doing camp activities. They have a fire roasting pit on the campus APU where they get together. We do nature hikes. We do games out in the wilderness. They teach the kids how to do cooking activities with very limited supply, just like if they were camping. And then we have our Camp K program. Our Camp
That's a day camp, right? Like a day camp, like a home at night. Okay.
Yeah. And then our Camp K is the overnight camp. and they are out there depending on age. So we have different age groups. So like the younger kids who are like 5, 6, they might only be there for like 3 or 4 days, and then we have our older program, and they're out there for a week on Lake Kenai Lake, and there is really they get the total camp immersion experience. We do hiking, like we have a couple of mountains where the kids go up a hike. I remember when I had to do it, and we got halfway up, and I looked, and my camp person would look at me and say, "Do you want to go all the way up?" I was already done, but the kid was like, "Yeah, just go all the way up," and we had to go all the way up, and it was really fun. It was engaging. We go out and we swim in the lake. They go canoeing on the lake, and going in camp, Lake Kenai, you would think it's warm because the summer. It's not really warm. It's really no, it's still cold, and so
We're in Alaska. It's got to be cold in July. I
Yeah.
cannot. I
Yeah.
cannot.
So we have so when the kids go swimming, we have a sauna, and the kids go they run into the sauna, warm up, and they go back in the water, and then when you see these kids just running back and forth, just so they could heat up, so they could go back in the water.
So what's the temperature of that water? Like what do you know?
It in the summertime it's still probably 30, like most of the time like 30 or 20 degrees and stuff like that. It doesn't get it barely is warm enough so there's no ice. And so we call it like a polar plunge in the summertime. And so the kids get a kick out of it. They go swimming all the time. They go canoeing on it. And then, even though we have our camps where they go in and stuff like that, we do take them camping. So we have tents. They go one night, they just go camping on the Lake Kenai. So we really try to create an immersion program where every youth, no matter what your race, creed, or disability, can experience camp. And I think it's vital because a lot of times I didn't have a camp experience growing up. And so that's something like we learned, that when a adult has a camp experience, they want their kids to do it. So it creates generational love in nature and really getting like the kids in that deep passion to be out in the wilderness. Because I've met a lot of kids working in this field who doesn't like to go outside, who don't want to be outside, but then when they go to camp, they love it and they want to do it again. And that experience makes them want to bring their kids, when they have kids, to have that same experience. So this is one of the reasons why we're a very inclusive agency, is because we want all kids to experience camp. And we try to really work with parents to help mitigate costs. We have scholarships. We have a fee-based structure where we ask parents to pay what you can. There's no set fee. Like if you could pay the high amount, that's great. If you can, this is the low amount. You pay what you can. We want your child to experience camp. And that's, to us, is the most important thing about our program. We want kids to find their spark and to be in a place where caring adults, where they know they're loved, they're nurtured, and they have an opportunity to find their voice.
So important. How many campers would you say receive like financial aid?
I would say in all our programs, I would say probably roughly 75% receive some type of aid.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, the fact that you're able to provide a camp experience when 75% of your kids need some sort of like financial assistance is incredible. It says a lot about your program, and it says a lot about the support that you have from your community. I mean, you guys have been around since 1913. So even with your experience, do you have current campers whose parents went through the program too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of the kids who we have had either grandparents, parents, and then themselves and stuff like that. So we all operate with some of our kids, third generations that have been in campfire. A lot of times, we have first generation, second generation. But it's really important for us, like with those first generations, is to build for them to get that love and because what we're hoping is that they get their kids into love, especially around communities of color, which is a hard area to do because, you know, a lot of, like I said, I'm a person of color, didn't experience camp, didn't go to camp, wasn't even an option. And
Right.
that's a lot for people of color, you know, who are adults. They're fearful of sending their kids to camp. And so we break down those barriers by, you know, financial aid. We help buy equipment if you know need to. Because we know like once those kids experience camp, then you're going to get them to experience it, and then it creates a cycle of we end the cycle where we think of this as a white person activity or risk person activity. We want this to be an inclusive activity where all people could get involved and everybody has a chance to do this.
Because what's so amazing, I feel like, about camp is that it really creates like a secondary safety net. I've said that before, like a secondary family for these kids. So, you know, it should be an opportunity that every child should feel that they have like a, you know, a secondary network of family and friends and love and that safety net that they can go to. And I see, as you know, I didn't grow up going to camp. I go to camp now. I'm heading into my 6th summer as a division leader at my camp, and I bring my kids. But one of the things that I noticed right away is there is that culture of camp, that these kids who come back year after year, whose parents went, you know, this is a secondary family for them. And you know, what a blessing it is to have more love in your life, right? Whether it's campers or a counselor, or, you know, it's hard. And, you know, you take it for granted. I think you think, oh, people live in Alaska. Oh, they're out, you know, it's nature. Like, you know, they're all outside, but, you know, not every kid wants to be outside. You know, they want to be on their device. So regardless of where they live or where they're from, this outdoor nature camp experience is just so priceless. You really can't put a price on it. So you've been in Campfire Alaska for 11 years, you said, right? So you have your own camp story. What's one of your favorite, like this one time at my camp? Like, what's a really good, funny story?
So one year, so I went to Camp Cave one year, and it was, you know, we have different programs, different groups. So this week it was the youth who had diabetes. So we work with the Diabetes Foundation here, and we bring youth for free, because the diabetes organization pays for them to go to camp. And so I was there for a week, and I was with the older kids. And it was a kind of the divide between some of the boys and stuff like that. And so the other counselor came up with this great activity where they found 2 trees that were really close together, and they tied wires around it and created a small enough hole where you have to carry the person from one side of the tree to the other side. So you had people, so you have to run around, and I'm a big guy. And so they had to carry me to this hole, and it was so funny because they got me halfway in, and they all said I fell, and there was like campers underneath me, but we're all laughing, we all joking around, and that experience really bonded us because we were just laughing. It was like we forgot all the problems that was going on in our group, and it was one of those things. Afterwards, we didn't have those problems, and it was just like we just have fun, and which is a goofy thing, like, you know, trying to see like 8 15-year-old boys, 14-year-old boys trying to carry me to these 2 trees, and it was just that experience made me fall in love with camp, and because it's those experiences where, yes, there were problems, stuff like that, but we were able to come together, and just in a goofy, silly way where we just build a bond. And it's like, I still see some of those kids now, and they talk about the time, and we just laugh. It's still funny. I still laugh. Just imagine me looking up, and I can hear kids in the back of me, like, just laughing, just like, hey, you need to get up. I'm like, I'm trying to. And it was a fun experience.
Would you say, so you've been with camp for 11 years. Was that, did that happen recently, or was that a long time ago?
That was 4 years ago.
Okay.
4 years ago.
So what would you say, like when you first started working here, you know, you're new to Alaska, you're working for Campfire Alaska, like you didn't go to camp yourself. So what was that moment when you were like, where you felt like you really made a difference and you're like, yeah, this is good. This is my place. I'm gonna do okay here.
Yeah. So during the summers, my first few summers here, we did what we call our center program, where we go into this neighborhood and it's a low income neighborhood, and we provide a free summer program for the youth. And so we got one day to take them to Camp K, which is our lake, just for the day for them to experience it. And I'm walking with the youth and I'm like, and the youth are being loud and stuff like that. And I'm like, hold on, we gotta be quiet. There's bears and stuff like that. There's wild animals. And the counselor's like, no, we want them to be loud. We want them, and they were scared off. And during that experience that day, just seeing the kids love camp. They wanted to do everything. They even asked if they could stay overnight. And we was like, no, you can't stay overnight. We gotta take you home. We're like, I don't think your parents will be upset.
Right.
But they jumped into the Lake Kenai. They did archery and just seeing their faces do archery for the first time. They also got to go in a canoe and just seeing them and they had such a great day. They were so tired by then, they were all sleeping in the first 5 minutes on the bus ride back. But that's the day where I fell in love with campfire and camp, because those faces of kids who never experienced camp before, they didn't know what it would look like, but they fell in love with it and they still talk about it. I still see some of those kids, and it's a monumental experience when you could see the change in a kid when it happens. That flicker when that you got them, they fell in love with camp, and they're going to ask their parents, can I do this next year? I want to go next year. I want to do this. Why can't I do this? And it's just it's those moments that I, as a counselor, program coordinator, I live for, when I could see a kid light up because they found a spark or they found a passion they never knew, and they just discovered it with us.
Yeah, that is so special. So Camp K is your sleepaway, your residential, and those sessions that you do, they're week longs, right?
It depends on the age. So some of them is 3 to 5, and then our older kids is usually, I would say, a week to 14, week or 2 weeks. It depends on the age, because we found younger kids really can't do a whole week or 2 weeks because it's just so much for them. So we do 3 to 5 days for them, and as you get older, there's longer camps for you guys.
But you see, for one session, how many campers would you have at Camp K at one period of time?
We technically could do, we have enough beddings and stuff like that for close to, I would say, 100 to 200 kids. Wow. So we try to do that many kids at a time and stuff like that. So roughly between 100 to 200 kids per session. But
you're servicing 5,000 youth a year between your before school, after school, your day camp, 5,000 youth a year, and 75% of them are receiving financial assistance. You are doing incredible work. All right. New York is never getting you back. You know that, right? You're here forever. Yeah. That's incredible. What would be some of your returning campers? Let's talk a little bit about more the traditions of campfire and get into a little bit of the fun stuff. What would be your returning campers? What's the one thing that they look forward to every year?
So no matter what camp we do in any summer and stuff like that, we always do a Campfire Got Talent. And so this is the day where they get to perform and do a skit or a service, and we do this every year, and something that our campers, our kids love to do, because they always do something better than what they did last year. They remember that moment when they were on stage singing a song by themselves, and then all of a sudden they meet somebody and say, you know what, next summer, can we do it together? And then they do a duet, and then it's a group. And that is a tradition that we do every summer. No matter what camp we do, is always a Campfire Got Talent. So we want our kids to sign and be proud of who they are, be proud of their talent. Couple other things we do, we go on field trips. We try to get the kids out of their little pocket and explore areas that they never do. When I first started too, we had this race where each site will build their own canoe out of cardboard, and then we put that on the lake, and it's a race between each different site. and it's a big event. It's called the Boat Regatta, and you see campers cheering for their site, and it's so funny because halfway through, most of the boats are done, and and you see a camper trying, like a camp staff trying to hold on to their life to just finish it and stuff like that. But we do those type of things that every year we try to do and make it those moments where the kids can remember those moments and are so excited to come back next year. Because when we did the book with all the kids were like, okay, this is how we're going to build it next year. This is how we're going to make it stronger. And they come up with ideas and stuff like that, and they're ready to go next year as soon as we start and we get the material, get the boxes, the tape. It's those type of events that we try to do that makes it like we try to bring new stuff in, so it doesn't get dull and repetitive. But those big events we try to really do so the kids have things to look for and they know what's coming.
Those are your traditions, right? Those are your traditions. And hopefully those kids too, like they're staying engaged through the summer, planning their or through the school year, planning their cardboard race for the summer and planning their campfire got talent, through the school year for the following year. So, you might be doing it every week, so it gets a little tiring for staff, but for those campers, it's like, how can we make it bigger and better? What are some, since it has such a long history, 1913, what are some of the tried and true Campfire Alaska traditions?
Tried and true campfire. I would say one thing that we always do is go on a hike. Just
Okay.
go on a hike and just going out in nature, and then we're going and we're just having conversations. And it's like the most silly and goofiest conversation. And some of the best stories come on a hike. I remember one time we were hiking and there was a mama moose and two moose, to her baby moose. And the kids were like, oh my God. And all of a sudden they started following us. And I'm like, I'm telling the kids, we got to walk a little bit faster. And they kept on following. And then finally we got a spot where they passed us and stuff like that. But it's those adventures and those like smaller tidbits, like they know they're going to go on a hike and they're going to go, we're going to talk about nature. We're going to try to take them out to places they've never seen before. And really like, one of the places we've been to the last few summers is our fish hatchery, because we have a lot of fish population. So we have a fish hatchery and the kids get to learn how the fish hatchery spawns the salmon, and they get to learn about the eggs, or that, the cycle. And it's one of those things where they could actually see fish coming up the stream and seeing that. And a couple of times the bears there trying to get fish, but we're so high up, the bears don't cause us any trouble. But it's those experiences that we really try to do that builds those moments. Because what camp is at the end of the day is moments. And why people fall in love is like moments. Like when grandparents and parents talk to kids about camp, they talk about moments. They talk about those things that they look back on fondly, and they're hoping that their kids can gain those moments. And that's what we try to do at the end of the day, is build those moments. Because we know, if you're in camp for 1 week, or the whole week is not going to be great. There's going to be lows and downs and stuff. We're working with kids. We understand that. But we could get them to have a number of different moments, then we know we got them and they're lifelong, I would say, connoisseurs of nature. And that's what we're trying to do.
What I love is that it's simple and it's classic. I could have asked you what's your favorite tradition, and it could have been this like ceremony or, all of this pomp and circumstance. But really, at the end of the day, the tradition is just those moments, that hike, those conversations. That's the important, the little things, the little things, not the big things. I think that is just so incredible. All right, so I would actually would you like to play a camp game with me?
Yes.
All right, great. So I'm going to invite you to play my favorite camp game called the 7-second challenge. Are you familiar with the 7-second challenge, Cisco?
Kind of, but everybody has a different rules. So
all right. So my rules are simple. You will have 7 seconds to complete a simple challenge. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. First challenge. Make up a word and define it.
Poogie. And I would say poogie is a type of animal that you see bury itself under the ground.
A poogie, because you never might not know what it is. So it kind of like is a general term. I love that. I like that. But speaking of words, is there any sort of like Campfire Alaska like lingo or language that only a camper or a staff would know?
Yeah, so during the summer we all have our camp names.
Okay.
And if you don't know, like during the school year, everybody calls me Mr. Cisco, but in camp I'm a monkey. I'm monkey. And so parents would be like, why are you calling him monkey? He's Cisco. And like it's those stuff like they won't know because we have camp names, and that like we try to make sure the kids don't know our real names because we want them to just be experienced with camp.
Right. Are you monkey every year, or is it change every year?
It's monkey every year. I try to change it, but then the kids get like, no, you're monkey. You're
Like
monkey.
you're like it's tradition now.
Yeah.
Cisco. You're a monkey. All right. How can we support you? If someone wants to know more about Campfire Alaska or make a donation, how can we know more about the amazing things you're doing?
So I would say go to our website is www.campfireak.org. You learn a number of different information about not just our camps, what programs we're doing before after school year, about learning parts which came out of COVID, for our center programs, like how we help kids. And in that website, there's our website will show you how you can make a donation. Like every donation goes to the youth. We provide them, like I said, scholarships before after school, going to camp. Like I said, 75% of our parents don't pay the total cost, and we do that by grants, fundraising, but donations. And your donation is going to make a kid have that moment where they go and fall in love with nature.
Yeah, and fall in love with camp and want to come back and share that experience with their friends and their children and their relatives. So Mr. Cisco Monkey, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate your time. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here on My Camp. If you love camp and you want to know more about camp, please watch more of our podcasts. You can find them on the Happy Camper Live website, on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Cisco, thank you for coming and joining me in the HC today. And we'll see you next time. I'll save us more for you.
Take a moment to shine.